Hi, this is Lindy Kaiser with clearancejobs.com. Thank you everybody for joining us for this webinar with Booz Allen talking about their national security careers. We will get started in just 1 minute. Wanted to get the phone lines opened up here and get ready to get started. Okay, we're at time. Hi, this is again Lindy Kaiser with clearancejobs.com. I see folks rolling in. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar with the Booz Allen National Security Team. We are so glad that you joined us today. As we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Your phone lines, web lines, wherever you are joining us from today are muted currently. If you have a question for the Booz Allen team, though, we would love to get your questions today. You can type those into the questions function within GoToWebinar, and we will take those. They will actually be answering some of the questions that you have today. We have other questions that were submitted previously. We'll be rolling through those. So again, use the questions feature to ask your questions throughout the program. We'll get to as many as we can. So first, I just want to thank our panelists for being here today. You can see their information here. We really appreciate having this team. It's a great team with a diverse mission. They do a lot of very exciting, amazing work at Booz Allen. They've partnered with Clearance Jobs for years, and we just love this opportunity to tell more people about the great work that they're doing. So I just kind of want to get your perspective as folks that are a part of that mission with Booz Allen. Just walk me through a high-level overview of what it's like to work on the national security mission at Booz Allen, starting with you, Becky.
Sure thing. So if, I had to say it in a few sentences, we are all about partnering with clients to protect the world and people around the world. It's about doing work that is meaningful and very mission driven. It's not your average job. And we do that in a way that means we have to be in the forefront of emerging technology and blend that into our clients' missions in a way that is ahead of threats. So it's about being on the cutting edge of technology, but also getting to work with some really cool clients. So that's what I love about our work in national security.
So same question for you, Jamie. Kind of give us a high-level overview of the national security mission at Booz Allen.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Lindy, for having us. And I completely agree with Becky and would just add to what she said. For me, it's propelling the mission forward and bringing that right technology and expertise to bear for our clients. And similar to what Becky said, we need to prepare our clients for what's next for the future. So whether it be cybersecurity, AI, analytics, 5G, that's what we're really focused on. And I would also say we really want people to bring their passion and purpose to the pursuit. We're looking for people that are really caring about what they want to do and find that in the national security mission and apply it there.
Awesome. And if you're on the line and you're like, what a schmucky moderator, she forgot to introduce the panelists. No, there's a method to our madness. We wanted to introduce you to amazing Booz Allen first, and now we want to introduce you to some of the amazing people who are fueling the national security mission at Booz Allen. So I'm just going to walk through all of our panelists that we have joining us today and just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role and also how you got to Booz Allen. So starting it again with you, Becky.
Sure thing. So my name's Becky Robertson. I'm a vice president in our cyber account. And that is the home for our national cyber platform, which I'll say I've been doing cyber since before cyber was cool, probably about 26 years. And all of that has been with Booz Allen. So I've had an amazing journey, not just with Booz Allen as a firm, but with our nation as we've learned what cyber is all about and really stayed on the cutting edge of the cyber discipline. So my role today is one where I have the real privilege of engaging with lots of national clients in the intelligence community, as well as in some defense organizations, to make sure that they are getting that emerging technology that we just talked about, right? Make sure that we are bringing that to them in a manner that helps them achieve their cyber goals. So I have a pretty cool role. I'm humbled every day by the people I get to work with and the amazing things that they do.
And now to you, Jamie.
Sure. So my answer will be a little different. I've had a lot of different roles over just this past, what we'll call fiscal year or year. So I think that speaks to the ability to change at Booz Allen and whatever the firm needs at that moment. So for me, I lead our functional management teams, which are how we organize ourselves from a functional perspective. So we have our analytics team, our cyber, consulting, engineering and science, and digital teams. So I'm part of the analytics team, and I also lead a 180-person administrative team focused on analytics. So that's part of my role. And then as it switched this year, I am the recruiting point of contact for national agencies, and I partner with Chris, who's on this panel with us today, and I'm sure we'll hear from her in a few seconds here. So I've had the pleasure of working with her over the past few months on our recruiting needs. And then I also support our account from a capture BD perspective, some financial forecasting. And then earlier in the year, I was actually client facing, and I led a portfolio of business. It just goes to show there's a myriad of roles at Booz Allen that you can partake in.
Okay, and now same question for you, Ashely. Introduce yourself and tell us how you got into your role with Booz Allen.
Absolutely. So I actually have my 14-year anniversary coming up next week with the firm. I represent the defense and military intel side of the business. So that's all of our National Reconnaissance Office work, Combatant Command J2s, Service Intel Centers. So the sun never really sets on DMI space. We're a global portfolio and folks deployed kind of around the world in either short-term deployments or long-term PCS type assignments, as well as a lot of opportunities within the DC metro area and kind of across the US. I started at Booz Allen on the Joint Staff, so I'm a career intel officer, got off active duty after about 6 years, went through kind of a intel analysis kind of role to a change management role, helping the Defense Department transform their warning enterprise. Moved over as I kind of progressed in my career, went over to DIA, led a small program doing cyber exercise planning, so working with some of Becky's folks and exercise planners to help Cyber Command and the combatant commands understand the effects of cyber based on the tier of the exercise. Moved over where I worked for Jamie at ODNI for a bit, a little time in the IC Chief Financial Officer's office, and then ultimately leading some programs supporting the National Intelligence Council, President's Daily Brief, and the front office leadership at ODNI. I'm a reservist, so I did some time at the NRO, and there was an opportunity to come out to Denver and lead our NRO operations business. That's kind of what I do now. Have an enterprise portfolio supporting the mission operations director at NRO. And like Jamie, also wear a couple of different hats. So I'm a chief of staff for our senior partner within the account, and also work really closely with Chris on our recruiting and hiring needs within DMI space. And happy to be with you guys this afternoon.
There are a lot of hats at Booz Allen. I feel like there's like a hat. That's why I give away here that we should partake in. And same question for you, Christine. How did you kind of get started with Booz Allen, and what is your role there today?
Yeah, and thank you all for having me. It's really exciting to be here because all three of my colleagues here are my partners in crime when it comes to talent acquisition. But I've been at Booz Allen for about 15, 16 years, and I lead the National Security Group. It's one of 4 sectors that we have. In addition to that, I do the global commercial business, and I'm the talent acquisition lead for that too. And so, you know, I know everything about each of these 3 folks' business. We've worked very closely. The one thing I really love about working here and with these folks is that we're not alone in this talent acquisition journey. It takes a lot of people to help do this. We are embedded with each other, just as Jamie and Ashely had said, and even with Becky, we are fighting the fight to get the talent here. And you know, we work very hard and we work very closely together to find the right talent to get here. So thank you for having us.
Awesome. So thank you, everybody.
I realized I didn't tell you how I got here, and it's a little different than everybody else. So if I can just take a second, since it is a little different. I started off after going to undergraduate, working at a company performing system O&M implementations, which was a fun company. It was a great place to be, good work. But I decided it wasn't what I wanted to do the rest of my life. It was kind of rinse, wash, and repeat. So I left the area I was living in, went back to business school full time, and then coming out, interviewed with a bunch of companies, and what I really enjoyed about interviewing at Booz Allen was the people I met, I felt they could challenge me in my career, and they offered me pretty much the opportunity to do what I wanted going forward within reason. And so realizing that I could challenge myself and that every opportunity that Booz Allen had to offer, I could go after as long as I had the bandwidth to do it, that really appealed to me. And that's really come through over my coming up on 15 years here this summer with Booz Allen, that anything I've asked to be involved with, they've said yes, as long as I could handle it and prove that I could deliver. So if anybody's looking for an opportunity to get involved and do more than just your daily job, it's a great place to be. And if you just want to focus on your job and that's your primary focus, that's fine as well.
I love that. And I love the longevity here that's represented on the call. I think in this industry, it's easy to talk about hopping around, and there's no judgment here. Like if you can hop right into Booz Allen, they will take you. But there's something to be said for building a career with an organization. You know, and I think that Booz Allen shows you how you have that because of all of the different areas you can work. You feel like you've had the breadth of a career within one organization. So I think that's an amazing opportunity that's worth highlighting on. So, you know, talking again more about the cleared space, I want to talk about the challenges that Booz Allen is tackling specifically in the cleared space and why Booz Allen as an organization is so invested in that work. So Ashely, can you take that question?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think Becky hit on this at the beginning. You know, we really view ourselves as partners for our clients, and our clients are tackling key national security missions. You know, we represent all of the IC agencies collectively on this call within our separate accounts, as well as the Department of Defense, combatant commands. As you're watching the news, you know, a lot of stuff going on in Europe with Russia and Ukraine. You know, we've got an active team that supports via a large contract the combatant commands of EUCOM and AFRICOM. So Booz Allen's in that fight. Our IC partners are working that fight. So it's really exciting to kind of be there both on the mission side, but then we also have a lot of the back end software development, framework development. How do we take our clients to a cloud architecture in a secure way? So that's, I think, what's really cool about our business is the diversity of it. You know, the ops work gives us insights, gives us credibility, and then we have the back end development work that helps build the systems and make them better.
And so talk about being successful at Booz Allen. What does it take to be successful? Kind of what are you looking for someone to successfully jump into some of these national security missions and do some of the work that Ashely, Becky, Jamie are talking about? Christine, can you take that?
Yeah, I think there's, I kind of look at it, there's probably about 4 things, right? It's, well, what does success look like at Booz Allen, or how do I know, or how do I get to be successful at Booz Allen? And it's accountability, balance, your impact, and then values. So I'll start backwards. So, and I think Ashely has a t-shirt that represents our purpose and values, but you know, we literally live by a number of things that are our standard framework of our behaviors, how we treat each other, and you know, ultimately doing the right thing for each other and for our client and for the missions that we support. And so I invite you to look at our career site and our Booz Allen site to see what our purpose and values look like. But first and foremost, you have to live by those. The second is accountability. Obviously, we want you to come here and we want you to do a good job. But you know, we certainly want to make sure that you have the good work-life balance. And there are a number of resources that we have for you, including, you know, our firm-wide behaviors and our performance expectations. We have touch points from our career managers that we call snapshots. We have a number of different things that we help you become accountable in your career here to enable you to network, to get the education that you need. But you got to take the responsibility to do that yourself. We have a lot of invested programs that help you balance things in your life and in our culture. And you know, we introduce that to you through our launch program, which is what we call our orientation. We have affinity groups that we call our business resource groups, and we offer assistance, be it financial, childcare, whatever the needs that you have in our benefit package that will enable you to not only be successful in your work life here, but also in your personal life. And I think that's something that we're all very proud of, and many reasons for why we stay. And then obviously I mentioned the impact. You know, we offer a number of resources that I mentioned, and we do invest in our people. We do build some things, but a large part of our business is the intellectual property and the intellectual products that we give to our clients, and that comes from you. And so these are all these things that I share to make you successful, but also make you successful in your life.
Great. And we had a question come in from Miguel, so I want to address it now because I think it also ties back to you, Christine. Talking about DoD skill bridge or fellowship. So somebody who's in the Army who getting ready to transition out and wants to know about fellowships or DoD skill bridge at Booz Allen, if that's an opportunity that they could pursue.
We are very proud that we are partners with the Hiring Our Heroes program. In fact, we have a fellowship internship that I think started just recently, and so we are very much involved in that. But that's not the only transitioning military program that we have. We have programs such as Tech Excellence and some learning and development opportunities for you. So as you get here, whatever skills that you have, again, we offer other things in addition to this fellowship that we invite you to learn a little bit more about. So the answer is yes.
Awesome. And so now I kind of want to talk about why Booz Allen is such a special, unique place to work as a cleared professional specifically. I'm going to tee that one to you, Becky and Jamie. So why is Booz Allen really unique in this space?
Sure, I'll start. So I mentioned when I talked about my role, I'm part of something called our National Cyber Platform. And that means not only do we get to do some of the cool work that requires clearances, we also understand that the world has changed. And what it was 20 years ago, where there were only certain places where you could do certain things and you needed a clearance to do it, that has changed. And skills that probably many of you have are in high demand all over the place, including places that don't require clearances. So this platform that we've built is really about co-locating those amazing capabilities and that expertise that our people and our organization has generated, and using it seamlessly across a lot of different client spaces, whether it's some commercial cyber activity, whether it's DoD activity, or whether it's intelligence community activity, and whether it's for defense or offense, right? We do it all, and we connect into other parts of the firm as well who have a foot into that space. So I think more than anyone else out there, we provide an opportunity for cleared individuals to do more than just use their clearance. And we have built bridges organizationally to make that easier to do, and that includes creating opportunity for people. I think we all know that it is hard to stay in one place for a long time, one company, one employer for a long time. But by creating those opportunities, that's how we build that longevity. You don't have to go somewhere else to do something different. A company like Booz Allen creates that mobility, and it's really critical for you as someone looking for a job to think about that, right? We can give you what you want to do today. We can also probably give you 10 other things you can do in the future. So it's really cool to be a part of something like that.
I love that. So same question for you, Jamie. What makes Booz Allen unique in this space?
Yeah, I'll touch on what Becky said at the end there, which I think it really resonates with me, is I think at Booz Allen, the world's your oyster. Anything you want to do, I am sure Booz Allen has it. And I like to say in my almost 15 years at Booz Allen, everyone that's come to me with an idea or a place they want to be, we've been able to find a place for everyone. We're talking hundreds upon hundreds of people except for one. And that's a story for another time. But it was a good news story, and he found what that person wanted to do because it was something that is very, very unique and niche. Not many people can do. So for me, it's that the network that you've built across Booz Allen enables you to find those opportunities. Ashely's an example. He used to work with me, and now he's across the country in a different aspect of the business. And so that was an easy transition to make. We facilitated people going to Europe from our team. So just because you're a cleared individual, it doesn't mean there's not other opportunities at different clearance levels like Becky was talking about. I think that's what makes Booz Allen special, not just for the clear work environment, but just overall as a firm. Another thing that's really been helpful throughout my career, and even goes back to my first months with the firm, is that everyone's willing to help you. I've really never seen that or heard other people talk about that as much. Honestly, if you get a name of someone or a couple of names and reach out to them, they will get back to you. And if they're busy, they will find someone else who can assist you. And again, going back to my first months with the company, I was placed on a project, and even though I'm an MBA, I think I can take over the world, right? I still need help, just like the commercial said. So they wanted me to reach to a PhD in statistics to double check something. And it's intimidating for someone brand new to the company to reach to a 15, 20-year PhD with a firm that you're trying to make an impression on. And so I reached out to a couple of people, and they got back to me, was able to have someone look over my work and ensure it was accurate, which it was, I'm glad to say. It's funny because that made an impression on me and resonated with me. And I still tell that story, obviously, today, almost 15 years later. And to that person who I've worked with since on multiple projects, doesn't even remember that, because to them, that's just part of their normal job and what they do and expect others to do as well. And so we laugh about it every time we get together that, hey, remember when you helped me out with that first project? And she continues to say no, although maybe secretly she does. But to me, that's what really is, it makes a difference. And you see it here at Booz Allen.
I love that. And now you've talked a lot about like the coworker relationships, which seem super strong at Booz Allen, the mentorships, even relationships hierarchically across the organization. But talk about what it's like to kind of work with some of the clients that you work with. So I'll start with you, Ashely. Kind of what does that process look like? How does that interaction look like for you?
Sure. So, really we see ourselves as true strategic partners with our clients. So my first engagement was working on the joint staff, and our client was the J2 and his senior advisor for warning. And we were kind of in a Cold War centric environment for indicators of force on force conflict. Russia, Georgia happens, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is surprised. So how do we kind of get a warning indication system that both is responsive to Cold War threats or force on force conflict, but also receptive enough for food and fuel prices and instability, the Arab Spring. So it was really a really cool project to work with the combatant commands, our clients, to kind of develop a new warning enterprise system that ultimately got codified in a DoD directive, DoD instruction. And our team, government, military, and contractor, Booz Allen team, military and government, received a Defense or Director of National Intelligence Award for best team in the IC that year, which was really, really cool. So again, really working in partnership. I would take multiple trips with my senior client to Five Eye partners, to combatant commands, and really be there with him, a lockstep and barrel, kind of carrying the message. And it was really rewarding to see certain combatant commands, and you can imagine strategic command, all they really care about is the big, big problems. They're not so concerned about food and fuel insecurity and political instability, to really get them on board, because they were recalcitrant to kind of come on board with the new system. But to really see our client working in partnership with them to get everyone on board to finally build this new system was really cool. And we do that every day with different clients. Now I'm with the NRO, so we're looking at, how do we help modernize and do all the data that's coming in from new systems and new capabilities, and then how do we apply that in different ways. So it's kind of a continual enjoyment of working in this kind of business sector, and having, I think Jamie and Becky talked about it, the ability to move. So I've supported clients on the joint staff. I've gotten to brief the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, supported the ODNI, supported DIA, and now at NRO. So that variety of clients, and all of them with key and critical missions, and being able to be that partner with them through those challenges.
Yeah, and while I have you, Ashely, I got to ask you one more question. What's on the TV behind you? No, I want to ask you about being a veteran and what made you decide to work at Booz Allen, because I've had that question come up on the thread a few times. We have a few different military transition specific questions, so I always think that personal. Obviously, the world is your oyster when you're a transitioning vet, especially today. What makes Booz Allen like the standout for a veteran who's transitioning, or even like an active guard reserve experience? How is that, worked out?
Absolutely. It's been fantastic. So Booz Allen was really the only company I was looking for when I was getting off active duty. A bunch of my friends were all at the same rank level, getting out as 6-year baby captains. So we'd compare notes, and I'd hear folks that would talk to other companies or their experiences with other companies, and Booz Allen's really where I wanted to go, and had the great opportunity to go to the Joint Staff. So it was an easy transition. I was familiar with the Pentagon. I came out of the Pentagon on active duty. But then really being able to build the business lens, which was very helpful. So I had great mentors along the way. I expressed interest in wanting to learn more about programmatics and financials and business development. So kind of made that pivot throughout my career from being kind of an Intel analyst, doing Intel analyst things, to being more of a project manager and a program manager. I am still an active reservist. I think I may hang it up this year after 21 years, but the firm has been great in terms of balancing both my continued growth and promotion within the firm, as well as managing my military career. So I'm a lieutenant colonel in the reserves now. It's been a balance. So figuring out the right time of, hey, maybe this isn't the best time to focus on the military because I'm coming up for a promotion at Booz Allen or I'm working a big capture. Once that goes in, all right, now it's time to go refocus on the military because I've got a promotion coming up there or want to set up something there. So all my leadership has been fantastic in supporting that. And, again, you have to work that balance. You can't really do both all the time 100% and be effective at either. But just finding that balance, working with your leadership team, finding units that are supportive of your schedule. I've had to change units before because I was traveling internationally a lot with Booz Allen. They wanted you there the first weekend of the month all the time, so I found a unit with more flexibility. So as long as you're willing to be flexible and balance both, the firm has been super supportive. We provide up to 21 days of military leave, so there's no loss in your pay when you're going and doing your military service. And the firm is also very flexible about you being able to take that time when you need to take it.
Awesome. So that's great. Again, we've had a lot of questions come in from the veteran side of it. So that's always great to hear. And I think knowing that when you go into Booz Allen, you're going to have people like Ashely who would be delighted to mentor you the way the example Jamie just gave. So he can walk you through that balance. And I think you don't always find that at every company. So that's great to know. So I'm going to pivot back again to working with the client space a little bit. So Jamie and Becky, will have you touch on that. So Jamie, what has your experience been like partnering with the different clients, diverse set of clients that Booz Allen has?
I mean, it's been a wealth of opportunity. I've had the opportunity to work with our ODI client, as Ashely mentioned, some of our treasury clients, and then various others throughout my career. And the ability to move and try something new and gain an understanding of a different client space has been fascinating and personally rewarding. And for me personally, whatever I do, I know I'm going to do a good job at and do my best effort. But it's that extra sense of satisfaction I get at the end of the day of helping our national security mission. That's why I am where I am, and that's what I do, and I encourage others to help out if they can. And I've really enjoyed working with our clients in that space because they're there for the right reasons. They want to propel the mission forward. They're dedicated. They know what they're doing matters at the end of the day, protecting the nation and abroad. So it really does give you that extra sense of purpose in what you're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say along those same lines, Ashely is an example of what makes it such a privilege to do the work we do, right? I mean, that energy to do his day job and then the reservist job. I know I do this because I think of myself as a patriot, and the work I do is important. The work I get the privilege of being a part of is so important. I have 2 kids, and when they were real young, there were plenty of times when I was working late, and I'd get home, and the next morning they would say, "Why were you so late?" And I would say, "Because I'm working to keep you safe, guys." And that really is what it's about for me. And absolutely, there's satisfaction when you see world events and you were part of a group of people that helped to make some good outcomes happen. But I will tell you, the most satisfying thing for me is when I've had clients from 15 years ago, 10 years ago, reach out and say, "Hey, we really did a great job back on this. Can you help me on this new thing that's going on? I need your help." Right? To me, it's those relationships that we build that are so amazing that our clients trust us. And not every client wants you to be a partner, right? Sometimes they just want you to do what they say and they don't want advice. But working with those clients who really value us as partners has been an incredibly rewarding thing for me. And I have a number of those folks who are still in my phone, right? They are the people that I go to if I have questions, and they come to me. And that partnership is immensely important, not just for us as a company, but for our nation, right? We in industry play a huge part in the success of our country. And so it's really an honor to be a part of that.
Awesome. I'm ready. I always in these calls and I want to go work for Booz Allen. Sorry, clearance jobs. I'm ready to go. But now I want to talk to you, Christine, a little bit about the typical hiring process that you see. What can a candidate expect? Kind of walk us through. We have a slide here that kind of goes over, but walk us through the hiring and application process with Booz Allen.
Yeah, right before I jump into that, I have to piggyback on a couple of things that people were saying. First of all, I got here as an employee referral, so that's related to this recruiting piece of it. And I actually started out with a consulting firm doing financial auditing, and then we started doing operation systems, risk assessment, and management. So whatever you want, that might have not been like the precursor for cybersecurity, but we were doing some strange things and awesome things to test test systems and make sure that they are secure. So I didn't like doing it as much as I like to recruit people. So that's how I kind of made the transition. But I did like the consulting environment. And I just echo everything that Becky said, Jamie said, Ashely. It's an honor to even be a part of what they're doing and the missions that they're participating in, because I might not know everything or every detail. But we have people who are clients who are now Booz Allen employees. We have Booz Allen employees that become clients. I am a person that is a consultant in these are my clients that you see here. And so we operate very closely together, and it can be very emotional, but I think it's very important to everybody, and I think it's just something to just echo off of. And I haven't had the same job in 15 years either, so sometimes I haven't necessarily done this, but there are people who go to the client side, and then there are people who come back and then they join our infrastructure team. And so the mobility is available for everybody. It doesn't matter where you are, what your role is, and it also doesn't matter what your level is. And so what Jamie was saying about you reach out and you need help, Becky is a vice president. If I were to ever call somebody like her or anybody on this panel or anybody that I didn't even know, these people would answer and they would help me, and vice versa. I would help whoever needed my help as well. So it really is a meaningful thing, and it really does truly happen. So now I'll get off my soapbox, but this is a journey map that is very important to us because obviously it's candidate centric. We put this out there, and we kind of thought about this, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. What we wanted to make sure that candidates understood what our process looked like, that there was transparency in the process, and that you knew what to expect. And we put this together based on feedback from our candidates, and some of it was not great feedback, and then some of it was very good feedback. So we built on the good feedback, and then we learned, and we reorganized our process along the way. But we wanted to make sure that we gave you this candidate experience journey map because there's different organizations out there, different processes, and a lot of different ways to get into the company. And so, hopefully you'll get a chance to look at this a little bit more. You can get onto our career site. If you go to boozallen.com/careers, you can find that there. There's other career resources. And then there's also information about the application process and even more FAQs.
Awesome. Well, we have several questions I think that are going to hit on you, Christine. So Eric had asked about the hiring timeline. Another veteran transitioning out. He says he's heard that really employers aren't really interested in talking to him until he's about 2 to 3 months out from separation. Do you have advice on when folks should start looking at applying, or when you want them to reach out and find you?
Yeah, and I understand why, because I think part of it is, if you're going, it depends on what your transition period is going to be. And, obviously the actual recruiting and getting you to apply for a job is because depending on the role, it could take a long time. So we can't necessarily engage you just yet until you're ready to start looking for an opportunity. I mean, there's different ways to stay engaged with us, such as this panel. There's our military recruiting team also has a lot of destination Booz Allen engagement opportunities. So we may not be able to talk to you right away, depending on what your restrictions might be or those types of things. So it really just depends on the timeline in your transition period. And it also depends on what the role is that we are looking to hire you for. So if the crossover takes longer, then that's going to take some time. We're going to have to, plan ahead. There's a number of different factors that come into play. If it didn't answer your question, please dig more and I can answer you some more with that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the main thing is connecting probably with the company, showing their interest, attending things like this. And then that way you're reminded of them when opportunity does come up. We've had a few questions about specific, job opportunities. Do you have anything more law enforcement or DHS, somebody who's coming with a force protection background? Does Booz Allen have any careers in that realm? Also had somebody ask about entry-level DevOps. Again, we have the contact information for folks who are asking questions, so I'm sure we will follow up individually with you about those specific things. But I think that's good. I think people tend to think now national security careers, everything is cyber, which everything is cyber, but then also, what other opportunities do you have, Booz Allen?
So to answer your question, Lindy, about do we have, I think the backgrounds, I don't see the chat, but I think, do we have junior DevOps? Are we looking for people with a law enforcement background? The answer is yes. And this is such a trick question for people like us, because we have so many job opportunities that not one of us, not even myself, can represent or talk about every job opportunity that we know. We are representing the national security work here, but as I mentioned, we have global commercial work that is that is actually cybersecurity, but there's also a piece of it that's general management consulting. Then we have work that's in our defense business, in our civil group, that is a mixture of a lot of different things. And so we truly invite you to take a look. The career site is really the best place to see what opportunities there are. You can also see the different teams and the different kind of skill sets and capabilities that we offer to our client, which then reflectively means these are the type of skill sets that we need. So we invite you to take a look there.
Yeah, and we've had a few questions just asking, hey, how does a candidate set themselves apart as an applicant for Booz Allen? I think I'd be interested in hearing from any of you, even when you're staffing your teams, like what are some of the qualities, maybe not even necessarily skills, although if you have like, hey, yeah, if you can get this certification in the military, great, but just in general, even soft skills, hard skills that set candidates apart when they're coming onto your teams. Becky, do you have?
I'll take a shot. So definitely there's certifications out there in your field that are helpful. But I would say there's a communication piece that is underestimated, and not just submitting a resume that looks good and is neatly done and no mistakes, but when you get a chance to talk to someone at Booz Allen, engage them, ask questions. I love a curious candidate, I think that is makes such a better impression than someone who's just answering our questions. So coming in with some ideas of your own of what you want to learn, I think is super important. I'll tell you that I was hired out of college by someone who was a former naval officer. And kind of as a second career, he was running a business at what was Westinghouse at the time. And he told me, I am looking for people who want to learn and who I can mold into what I need them to be. And it's a lot less about what's on paper than what I get when I talk with them. And, I felt like he took a chance on me and really set my career down a path that has been a good one. So I feel very strongly about that communication piece. No, don't get me wrong. There are some minimum qualifications you will have to meet. But I really encourage you to come in and ask questions and start to chart your own path based on those questions. Say what you're interested in. Learn about where we do it. So that's my biggest thing.
Yeah, I would add on to what Becky said about the curiosity aspect. I mean, it's a consulting industry, right? So we want people that want to learn more. And so we have multiple platforms to enable folks to do that, whether it's our tech excellence programs, which I think Becky brought up earlier. So if you don't have all of the right skills, that's okay. We run programs where we bring you in, hire you, and put you through a multi-week process to develop those skills so you can go be a data scientist or be a software engineer going forward in the area that you want to be in. We also have Udemy, which is a platform where you can progress at your own pace for learning going forward. And even though it's not Booz Allen specific, I've enjoyed the eDEX, so eDEXorg. Those are free online courses from national universities that you can take on your own. I've taken the sabermetrics course, which was really fun. So we also have FlexEd, which is a program where depending on how many years you've been at Booz Allen, you get money towards certifications or training that you can use. And you don't have to pay it back. If you, like you said, if you've maintained a certain amount of years at Booz Allen, you get a certain amount of dollars to put forth towards that. And I think Becky also mentioned this, but in the interview, we want to see people that I feel comfortable putting in front of a client. If you've got all the technical skills, that's great. You're going to have to interact with people. So there is a people aspect to it as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said. I'd also add, have an open mind. The position description may not tell the full story, or, hey, the role isn't exactly what you like, but if Booz Allen's where you want to come, we've got a great internal mobility program to find other opportunities within the firm, within specific geographies or globally. So if Booz Allen's somewhere you want to come to, don't be so wet on the job not being exactly 100% for the rec you interview for, or, hey, we got you in this interview because we wanted to talk to you. We'll have a better idea of what the role is, or sometimes it's a little bit more fudgeable. In my program, sometimes I don't know where I'm going to have a need. I can kind of give you a general idea of the type of work we do, and I find that the candidates that are most effective and then go on to have effective careers tend to be open to that, and give it in, do the best they can in that role. And if they want to move, we move them around, develop some skills. So just be flexible and have an open mind. I'd say also be realistic about what your commute tolerance is. I can't tell you how many times I've interviewed folks that, oh, McLean's not too far and they're north of Central Maryland, and then they start doing that 2-hour commute on the Beltway and it becomes untenable. So be realistic about what your commute tolerance is, and be frank with that in the interview, because if it's not a fit for the program you're talking to, we share candidate resumes all the time across programs, and we might find a better fit for you than just trying to say, oh, hey, I'll suck this up for a while, and then it becomes untenable.
No, I think that's a great point. And that segues to our next question, which is kind of about skiff life, thug life, skiff life. There's a lot of questions about that now with remote work, the pandemic. What does the balance look like? Again, it looks like a lot of remote work happening now. Maybe is that just for me for the call? But how are you balancing those needs to be, obviously some cleared work just has to be done in a skiff. How does that look day to day at Booz Allen? Who wants to take that one?
I'll start if you like.
Yeah.
So I am home. One of the strange things about the pandemic is that people have now seen my bedroom pretty regularly. So when I work remotely, which is usually a couple days a week, this is where I work. But I have a large amount of my business happens in places where, I have to be there and in person. And the majority of my team is in that position where they have to be there live in person. There are some emerging opportunities in that specific space to do more remote work, or at least to do unclassified work. That is a growing thing. We don't have a huge amount of that work right now, but in other parts of our business, we have seen the pandemic open the door to almost exclusively remote work. Some of the research work that we do, those teams operate fully remotely. So it's really a matter of, exploring the opportunities that are out there. And I will say we try to make skiff life fun. Lindy used that phrase. We have a whole campaign we did with our folks about the pride of skiff life, right? And, it is something that you get accustomed to over time, but we also understand that the workforce is changing. People want different things, and we need to make sure our clients are keeping pace and changing. So we are a real proponent of pushing for new ways to do business, new business models that include more of that unclassified and remote work.
And we have some programs that are delivering unclassified, even though overall the client may be a classified mission. And so what Booz Allen has really been at the forefront of is trying to get a more diverse, distributed, and digital workforce. And so speaking with the clients about what aspects of their mission can be performed in an unclassified nature, or maybe in different locations potentially, and getting access to different skill sets than they would have had before. So I think, again, Booz Allen has really been at the forefront of having those discussions. And I am hopeful in the near future that more clients will be open to that, and that will open the aperture to more types of people coming into this environment, and then maybe getting those clearances later on in their career, being more interested in it, and opening the pool of people that can support those clients in those skiffs one day, and that skiff life that we've all enjoyed and been through.
Yeah, I would say, I think, largely it's a government issue more so than a Booz Allen willingness to allow more telework. And you probably, if you've worked with some of these different IC agencies, you can assume that some are a little bit more open to it, and others are very much, if I can't see you and you're not doing something in the skiff, you're not doing it at all on contract. So it's definitely something, as Jamie and Becky said, our senior leaders, when they go in and meet with some of these clients, especially directors of agencies, they've shared this story, and those directors have shared back with us that they realize it's a challenge for their government workers too, that are looking for more flexibility. So there is at least collective discussion. It's figuring out, getting through the technology and the security and the trust factor to allow more of that. But we did see some success, some great success during the pandemic. So hopefully that'll continue and improve.
And I'll tag on to that, back to what I said earlier. This is part of the beauty of our national cyber platform, that we are bringing work together that uses common skills, but doesn't always deliver in the same way. And so that has brought these opportunities closer where you can deliver, but not have to be in a skiff, right? You can do some lesser classification or some remote work because, like I said, if there's anything positive that came out of the pandemic, I think it is an openness to new ways to do work, new business models that our clients can use and we can use. And I will say, we've said the word consulting a lot. I think that is an accurate description of what we do when we partner. But make no mistake, many of our staff are technologists. I know the majority of my staff have PhDs in quantum, have quantum physics, they have master's degree in software development, right? They are highly technical staff that we are engaging. They're data scientists. And so finding ways to do that work that it doesn't have to always be in a skiff is a challenge, but we are in there helping our clients figure that out.
Skiff life isn't all bad. Sometimes you get TVs, just like Jamie. There's couches sometimes in the right one. I mean, and Skiff life had remote work-life balance before it was cool. Now they're talking about how limits on your device, and if your employer can contact you. Start working exclusively in a skiff, people, and you will learn to leave your work at home, or you will face criminal prosecution. So how's that for a tagline? It's not all bad working in a skiff. And I think we found even with the clearance jobs ecosystem, there were some people who had that COVID response, hey, I really don't want to go back. There were other people who were like, please let me go back to an office because I need to go. So I think we kind of have this idea writ large that everybody wants to work remote, but that's not necessarily my, candidates are certainly demanding the flexibility, but I think you see borne out, Booz Allen has always been a top employer for military spouses. You've always gotten a lot of kudos for working mothers. I think that's because you've had a lot of balance and flexibility built in. I don't work for Booz Allen, but there's been a lot of balance built into previous things. So for me, I always let precedents in history look back. Booz Allen has a track record of supporting their employees. They're probably going to continue to support you if you need that flexibility. So we had a question, Jamie, for you. Everybody wants to get on your educational bandwagon. People are asking. You said Udemy and edX. So they wanted to clarify, are those the training? Those are the sites you said Udemy and edX you've used for training?
Yeah, and I'll clarify even further. It's eDEXorg. Don't do a different ending because I think it takes you to somewhere else you may not want to go. But it's the one where you see all the universities and things of that nature, which are what you want to learn. But Udemy is a great platform that our firm offers, so I would highly recommend that one as well.
I'm glad you said that because somebody would have done it on their workplace device and then would have lost their security clearance due to misuse of IT systems, and they would have said that they.
I don't know if it's bad or not. The firm blocked me from going to the .com, so I'm just recommending people don't go to the .com. I don't know if it's good or not.
Good IT protocols will save you every time. And then another question that came in was specifically about degrees versus kind of certifications. Like, hey, do you have tech positions available that don't require a college degree?
Yes, we do. And like I said, it just depends on the role. So we do hire people who do not have certain certificates or who do not have certain degrees. And like I said, it's really depending on the role. So you can still be a technical person and you may not have certain things, but so long as you have the things that we need for that role, we will consider you.
Awesome. And we're nearing the end of our time. And this happens to be every webinar. I talk so long and then I forget that I actually ended the time. So I want to actually close with purpose here and give you a chance to all respond to a question. Just know that this is kind of our closing note. So if there's anything we didn't touch on that you want to address, we have other questions that we couldn't get to, but a lot of them were really specific. So just know we have your email address and we will send those one off and make sure you get responses to all of those. But I just kind of want to talk about, just give me an overview of your career path. And again, we had a lot of people with a lot of different interests in joining Booz Allen. What advice would you give to someone who looks at all of you here, successful, happy, fantastic Booz Allen? What advice would you give to someone who wanted to pursue your career path? I'll start with you, Ashely, and then we'll go up.
Sure, a couple of pieces. One, kind of bloom where you're planted. So my academic background is Asia Pacific. I was a China, North Korea analyst. Come to the joint staff, think I'm going to be working China, North Korea. There's an entrenched government GS-15 that has a very strong hold on that portfolio. So I pick up Pakistan. Didn't know anything about Pakistan, learned a whole lot about Southeast Asia, and then probably throughout my 5 years on that contract, went from being an analyst to leading the small team to probably covering every portion of the globe from a portfolio perspective. So really bloom where you're planted, and really make your desires known. So I kind of wanted to, I'd managed small projects before, but never had managed anything at a large scale, large dollar amount, dealing with subcontractors or independent contractors and really interfacing with the contracts officer, the government business side of things. So kind of talked to my leadership. I worked for Jamie at the time, and we figured out an opportunity to kind of carve out a deputy program manager role that led to a program manager role, and then success begets success. So you start having difficult clients and turning around those difficult clients, and then you move on to the next thing and set up your team. So I think ask for what you want, be flexible, bloom where you're planted, and your career can take off.
And Christine?
I was going to say a lot of those things too, Jamie, but I think you got them spot on. But I think the one thing I would encourage people to think about is to embrace change. And it can go, it works in so many different ways. We've all had different jobs and different responsibilities over the years. And I'm sorry about my dog in the background having his 15 minutes of fame. But the second that we go through change, and us leaders on this call, we've said it to people too, is the second that you experience the change, it's not something that's going to be forever. It will be different, and it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be different in the next year. It could happen in 2 weeks from now. It could happen in 1 month from now. It could happen. I've experienced change so many times in the role that I'm in, and so I think that if you're somebody who is excited by it, this is the place for you. If you're somebody who has a little bit of trouble with that, it's going to happen to you anyway, so embrace it. Good things will happen. And if you don't like the change, you can say what you feel about it, right? So in my career, I've been given options, and I've been also mentored to say, just say what you want and it will be honored. And so I guess my closing thing would just say embrace change.
And Jamie?
Yeah, so I'll give three things. One is be passionate about what you want to do and follow that passion. People created a whole data science capability at Booz Allen because they saw that future. And now it's a huge practice, and we're the #1 deliverer of data science in government. So be passionate, be open to change. I think someone said be curious earlier. I will say that I've had, like Chris, opportunities and volunteered for things. I've also been voluntold to go do things. And when you're in those positions, I think the third thing would be define success. If it's something that you weren't necessarily interested in doing at first, define your success and what's going to be the impact at the end of that. A lot of people go into positions and say, well, this isn't exactly what I wanted. Well, make it what you want. You can change, you can deliver what the client wants, and then go above and beyond, or bring what you have to the table and deliver something above and beyond. So I would just take those 3 things with you going forward into anything you do.
And Becky?
Yeah, everybody said a lot of really good things. And I like the bloom where you're planted. When people ask me about my path, I say something very unflattering. I call myself Forrest Gump because I think I was a feather that just kind of floats on the wind like he did. But not everybody is that, right? Some people are those guided missiles and know exactly what they want to do. but I would kind of take on what everybody said and say, you know, be open to change, be open to the opportunities that are presented to you, and seek those mentors, seek people you trust. I will say at Booz Allen, I have been fortunate to have so many tremendous leaders as mentors who helped present opportunities to me, but also helped give me that whisper of, hey, have you thought about this? You could do that, but how about this, right? And so building those relationships and those collaborative engagements is something that I have valued more than anything throughout my career, right? That I was never felt like I was in it alone. There were lots of people I could go to and ask advice. So whether you're at Booz Allen or anywhere else, I would really encourage you to think about all of that as you move through your career, right? Find those trusted mentors that you can engage with.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on the webinar. Thank you to the folks at Booz Allen here. We love our partnership with you guys. We love talking about the amazing career opportunities you have. If you left here with nothing else, know that it's a great place to work. There's a lot of opportunities, and you just need to keep kind of pursuing what's out there. Check out their career site. It is always changing. There are always new opportunities. Again, we've had a lot of questions from veterans, and I think you'll see as you cycle through the transition process, those opportunities change. But for me, it's never too early to reach out to a partner. Find an employee referral way to get into the program, find somebody to help open that door for you, because they can help you set you on the path. Again, a lot of questions about how to upskill into the right position. It doesn't hurt to reach out to the employer early and have them help guide you through that upskill, especially again, if you're a transitioning veteran. So you're identifying the skill sets you want and how to pursue them. But again, thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar. We will have the recording and the follow-up later. And again, if you asked a question in the chat that we didn't answer today, we will certainly get to it later. So thank you again, everyone. I really appreciate your time.